Hi guys, I hope Mr. Substitute and my excellent choice of gifts have got you pumped up for making some maps today. We've got a lot to go into, so let's begin. The first map we're producing is a context map, which will let us make some observations and inferences around some of the potential reasons why certain areas in Brisbane are advantage or disadvantage. And the second map we'll produce essentially will represent spatially what areas in Brisbane are advantaged or disadvantaged based at a statistical area level 2 level. Okay. For first up, let's open the QGIS software on the school computer. So just go to the start menu and scroll down to QGIS 3. So this software is a geographic information system software, and it's used in the workforce for a range of things. Private companies use it to help map out competition and demographics, which would help them make investment decisions, or even just local councils looking to understand the community a bit better. Now, and also I was going to say, we're just going to go over some of the basics today because it's not an entirely intuitive program. So I'll be giving you some step-by-step instructions. So don't panic, or if you feel like you're not getting it straight away, you can always go back and watch the video again. And what the software will do is introduce you to some of the aspects of GIS software, and in the senior school years in geography, we'll be using it in a bit more detail, if that's something that interests you as well. So to quickly orientate you, just go to the top left part of the screen and click on New Project. So this white area, the big white space, will be essentially our working area where we'll be putting all our mapping layers into it. The Layers tab here will be essentially list all the information that we'll have in this space here. So your roads, your rail, floodable areas, things of that nature. Okay. So the next bit, again, is quite easy. I'll get you to go to the school drive, and if you can get to this folder path on the school drive, it contains all the GIS data that we'll be using for this exercise. Okay, so I'll let you do that. What I want you to do once you get there is we're going to be selecting several of these layers which don't really need much editing and we can kind of work with straight away. So when you get there, I want you to pick the Brisbane hotspots layer. So press and hold Control and left click each of these layers and click on the SHP file. So this file is essentially something that will be read straight away by the program and bring our spatial information in. So click all the coastal hazard overlay files. Click all the Brisbane flood files. The road hierarchy one we'll get to later, and you'll understand why. Go to the ocean. We'll get the ocean in there. It's always fun. Queensland local government area boundaries. So that basically shows all council boundaries within Queensland. And finally, just the rail network. It's all gone. Let me just do that again for myself. So these layers, like I said, they don't have too much, don't need too much editing, and are quite simple to do the editing once we put it in the program. So click on one of them with the left button and hold it, bring it down to the QGIS software icon, and it should appear, and then just drop it in the white space and it'll just automatically bring it in. Great. Now you think it might look a bit skewed. That's just because obviously the Earth isn't a flat thing. Hopefully I've convinced you of that so far. It's a sphere, and that's why some of the maps may appear like this. So it's just showing you a projection system which is more aligned with the Earth's curve in a simple way. So the other thing I want to do is I want us to bring in some aerial imagery from Google. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you how to do that. In the browser tab here on the XYZ tiles, I'll get you to right click and press new connection. Now in this URL space, what I need you to do is go back to the PowerPoint, and it'll be at the bottom of this map 1 context map slide. Now this web address or URL is what we need to copy in to that field, okay? Now, there we go. Now, because what you do need to do is you do need to make sure there's no spaces at the back of it, and just name it Google, because that's the obviously where we're getting the information from. Press OK. We'll have it there, appear there. Double click on it, and it'll appear as you would likely see it in Google Maps. So you might think the information's all gone. Don't worry, it's not gone. You can see here that all the layers we've got to work with are shown here, but essentially what's happened is the aerial imagery has just been placed at the top. So just click with the left button, mouse button, on the Google layer and just drag it down to the bottom. And now we've got all our information here. So what I know it's showing the whole state of Queensland, but obviously we're only really interested in Brisbane. Now I know this, but for instance, the Brisbane hotspots layer, that's only relates to the Brisbane Council area. So click on that layer and right click and press zoom to layer, and that basically brings us straight to shows us what's relevant. What basically this layer is the relevant piece of information we want to see, and zooms us straight into the full extent of that. So just zoom out a little bit, and you'll see you should have a line that represents the Brisbane local government area there. That's basically the extent that we're going to be focusing on today. Now the data on the screen, I just want to quickly give you an overview, is made up of 3 types of spatial layers. Okay, so the first is a point layer. An example of that is the Brisbane hotspots. I'll click and drag and bring it to the top. So this is just point data. So it's X and Y coordinates of just places within the world, quite simply. The second is a line layer. An example of that is the rail network layer, which I've already got here. So that's just the passenger rail network within the region. And the last is a polygon layer. So that's essentially just a layer that contains full shapes, and obviously an example of that is the council areas here. Okay. Soon I'll get you to spend 10 minutes or so ordering and editing these layers so you can kind of distinguish between them all. To reorder, you've probably seen me do it. It's quite simply click on the layer with the left button, click and hold, and then move it up and down the list, and it'll appear. Got the road hierarchy, don't want that. Remove that, and it'll appear and show the information in that order that you want it. To edit is quite easy. So you just click on one of the layers, right click, properties, and you'll see in symbology is where you can edit each of the layers. Now, to start with, I'll give you some help with 2 of these layers. The first obviously is the Queensland local government area layer. Once you're in symbology, click on the simple fill. Because we want to see the aerial imagery, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this layer, click on this colouring. Let's make it grey. I always find that kind of the base layers like this, where the information is just more for context, should just be very kind of dull colours. And then this opacity bar essentially represents how much transparency you want to apply to that. So let's make it 50%. Press OK. Now if I press apply here, you can see that it's already made it semi-transparent, so you can see the aerial imagery underneath. And then to change the color of the line, that's that stroke color here. Let's just make it white. We'll keep it, fully visible. Maybe we'll bolden the line by just pressing up on the stroke width. You can play around with that and make it work for you. Press apply. Okay, so we've got here now the local government area boundaries with some of the aerial imagery coming up underneath. The second layer we'll have a bit of a play with before I leave you to it is the Brisbane hotspots layer here. So this contains basically some location data that I've created for you of some of the key areas in Brisbane, like shopping centres and the CBD, etc. So what I want you to do is right click on that. Again, go to properties. Symbology, I won't play around with it too much. You can click on these shapes and make them bigger with the size here. For argument, we'll just call it effect drop shadow. We'll go that one. We'll also, the other thing I want to show you is the labels. So go to labels. Currently we're not showing anything, but what I want to do is show single labels. And within that data set, I've saved a name for each of the points. So if you click on this drop down, it's this hotspot N field. So click on that. Here's basically the font size and whether you want it bold and all that kind of stuff. I'll make it a bit smaller. I'll make it about 7. Black's okay for now. Looks good. So I'll press apply, and you get these crazy stars, but hopefully you'll make it look better than me. And also the labels of where these things are. So you got the barracks, the hospital. So these are some of the key locations in Brisbane. Okay. So press OK. That gets us out of that. So now that I've already done this exercise, one thing I'll suggest before I leave you to kind of muck with the ordering and the layers is that to make the symbology similar for your coastal hazard overlay layers, as well as your flood overlay information. Just because the reason we just need to make sure we can distinguish between what's flood overlays and what's coastal hazard overlays. So look, I'll leave it to you. Stay classy, and I'll speak to you on the next slide. All right, have fun.